The number one leadership lesson I've ever learned is you have to be honest with goal setting as well as the actual performance of the team member. I am someone that loves to make you feel good. I love to make people smile. I love to be a cheerleader. But if you never are honest in the actual performance of the individual, that is a lie. And that lie can lead to really dangerous habits being developed.
Well, hello and welcome to the Jay Sterling Hughes Show, where we share the straight truth on how we have grown our family law practice from 0 to 25 attorneys and doing over $15 million in revenue. And my purpose here is to document what's working and a whole lot of what's not working in our practice, with hopes that you can take that and you can recontextualize that for your practice and shorten your success curve. And today is all about that. I have a very special guest with me today, Mary Sankey. Mary is on our team. She's been on our team for 6 years, and she is a very vital cog in our wheel of many cogs. And I can't wait to hear what she has to say, because I know it's going to be a lot of good stuff. And if you're concerned about growing your law practice and building your sales team, you have come to the right podcast today, because we're going to be talking about how to build a non-attorney family law sales team. And I know the word sales is kind of an anathema to many, but for today, let's just own the fact that we all do it, and we all have to do it if we're going to have a law practice. We have to help clients see our value so they choose us. And Mary is exceptional at that. So Mary, you are not an attorney, so let's just put that out there for everyone's knowledge, but you know an awful lot about our firm because you have operated in many different roles. So let's get into first, before we go there, before we talk about your roles and all the value you've created for our clients and our team, tell us first the Mary story.
Absolutely. My name is Mary Sankey. I am a Christian, a wife, a mom, a foster mom. I think those are the three things that are my biggest hats, the ones I wear with pride. And I also work for Sterling. I also wear that with pride. I grew up in the surrounding area to Milwaukee, mostly in Germantown. My parents were divorced, so working for this law firm means a lot to me. I understand what our clients are going through, and my parents did it well. They may not have been good at marriage, but they were really good co-parents. And so I want that for our clients. My story is I met my husband when I was 16. I knew I wanted to marry him, and I did at 19. And together we've built an incredible life, 15 years of marriage this December. And I love what I do. And because I love what I do, I really get to shine. And my husband supports that as well, both in our marriage, but obviously with this role being in sales, that does come with a lot of challenges. And you're either selling or you're being sold. So I love how you started that out, that introduction. You're selling at a law firm. You have to get someone to understand the value that you're creating by what you provide to them. And so that's really who I am.
You just touched on the foster part of it. So I'm astounded. And we were talking prior to coming on live here just about some of your challenges. So you and Joel have, please if I screw this up, excuse me, but I know you have 3 children, right? Biologically?
We have 2 biological children.
Okay.
And 3.
All right. I just gave you an extra one. You didn't need that, but okay. And how many foster children are you taking care of right now?
We have 3 foster daughters. One is technically aged out, but just because she aged out of the system does not mean she aged out of our lives. So she's very much still a part of our life. And I include her in my children when I speak about my children. And it's a sibling set. So there's 3 sisters, then our 2 biological daughters. So a total of 5 girls.
Yeah. And in addition to that, you're obviously working full-time leading our internal sales team. So talk about, if you would, how you started with us and what are the roles that you took on over the years to get you to where you are right now.
Yep. So I graduated from Lakeland College with a degree in sociology and psychology in 2012. And right after that, I was contemplating what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I also at that time was married, was pregnant with our first child. So I took a step back from the world I thought I was going to enter into, which was social work. And I actually went into the coffee industry and really was there for quite a while. And I was doing sales there as well. Like I really made a connection with clients and customers, and I knew how to run mom and pop shops and just found myself constantly being put in these leadership roles. And when I was ready to really re-engage and enter back into the workforce after our second daughter was born in 2016, the opportunity fell in my lap to do a sales role at Sterling that really was for the marketing department. So I would travel around to our different metro areas and I would host live workshops with an attorney. And in these workshops, we would talk to clients about what they were going through, what the timeline was like for their individual case, what Sterling could do for them. And I really resonated with these clients. I saw the pain that they were going through. I really connected with them in an emotional way. And I gained a ton of knowledge from our attorneys because they were giving real practical advice, not individually, but holistically. What does this process look like? What are the advantages of working with a fixed fee firm? How we can safely navigate this in a way that leads you to co-parenting well. Man, I loved it. I loved every part of it. And at one of these events, an attorney said, "You connect really well with these clients. Have you ever thought about coming full time and working on," at that time, it was just a call center. We would answer the initial phone calls for the clients looking for representation. And so I did. I transitioned from a part-time job doing that hybrid marketing role into full-time on the phones. And I just loved every second of it. I excelled. I was told by Tony, your partner, the very first day that I ever took a phone call, he said, if you track every person you talk to, if you know where they are every step of the way after your phone call, while they meet with their attorney, after they meet with their attorney until they fund, you will always set yourself up for success. And I took hold of that, and that has rung true 6 years later. If you know the person you're talking to and where they are in this role, you will help them and you will find a way to do that. And I also believe we're the safest place to go through any family law case. And that has transitioned to the many roles that I've had at the firm. And I can speak to that too. Right after intake, I transitioned into a leadership role on that team where I was doing the L10s and huddles, things like that, just leading the team in a sales and role-playing direction. And then from there, I transitioned into training and onboarding. So as new hires came in, I was responsible for getting them to understand what we did, why we did this, how to effectively sell to a client. And then from there, we went into the Mary Project, and the rest is history.
So the Mary Project, let's back up a little bit and kind of unpack that. That was a brand new initiative that we started back at the beginning of last year. So this would be the beginning of 23, right?
Yep.
Okay. And if memory serves me, you started with our Illinois team. So we have 4 what we call metros or regions.
Yep.
We have 3 in Wisconsin and 1 in Illinois. And the one in Illinois is where you started to test something that we were kind of piloting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're very creative, as we all know. We called it the Mary Project because your name's Mary and you were on the project, right? So there was no like special code wording behind this at all. We called it the Mary Project. And your role was to have that first initial contact. Actually, excuse me, back up a little bit. The client would call us, the potential client would call us, the intake team would receive that call. If we could help that person, they were then passed to you. Is that right?
A little bit. So it transitioned into that, but actually how we first started is with our web leads. So as leads generated offline, if it was an Illinois lead, I immediately picked that up and I called them. The goal was within 60 seconds of someone submitting a web lead online. And what I would do is I would pick up the web lead, I would initiate that phone call and ensure it was someone that we could help. And from there, I would actually quote them. So I would give them a quote that was reflective of our fixed fee structure. And I would set them up for what we internally called a potential client meeting with an Illinois attorney. That way, the client was still getting legal advice for about a half hour with the attorney, but there was no wait time. They were immediately contacted by someone at Sterling. I empathized with them. I understood what their problems were. I made sure that the attorneys understood what they were going through. I generated that quote and the attorneys still were allowed to give that legal advice. And from there, I would pick it back up all the way until close. So I would attempt to then fund that individual after their attorney consultation as well.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why we did this project was because I recall our consult days from initial contact to consult days was in some cases 3 weeks.
Yes.
And we wanted to shorten that. And we knew that we were losing so many people between contact and consult because they needed answers.
Yeah.
Quicker than we could provide them. If we were able to shorten the attorney time down, they would then take on more of these consults. So you were there to kind of keep the client warm, inform them about our practice and so forth, and then also about the attorney before you pass them over to the attorney. Is that right?
Exactly correct.
Okay. And one of the interesting aspects of what you talked about is you would actually quote the client based on the facts and the issues in their case. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So that is a really difficult skill to train a non-attorney around and even an attorney really around issue spotting, like what issues are relevant in their case and which ones really are not, or maybe red herrings or something. And so it was those years of time going to all of those seminars, listening to these attorneys tell the same type of advice over and over again to people that were there to learn about what the legal ramifications of their family law matter was, that really helped you issue spot so well, right?
100%. If I hadn't had that background, I wouldn't have been able to go deeper when I heard small things that raised a red flag. That really set me up for success.
In our particular firm, when you say you're quoting them the full case from start all the way to finish of a full litigated or potentially litigated divorce.
Yeah.
Right. So we're not talking like $600. We're talking in many cases, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 type quotes that you're delivering to our clients. So I recall, Mary, when that program began to pick up steam. And if you would have asked me prior to the Mary Project, if it were even possible for a non-attorney to do that, I would have said, no way, you're on drugs, forget about it. That will never happen in a million years because our firm is so different and we're fixed fee and blah, blah, blah. All the excuses in the book, I would have been able to rattle them off to you.
Yep.
And you broke that barrier. And so when Mary did that, whenever you broke that barrier, that opened up my eyes to other possibilities on how we could serve our clients quicker and in better ways. And that led ultimately to the starting of a non-attorney sales team in July of last year. And you trained that team.
Yep.
Right? So I think we started with 4 people initially, in addition to you, and you trained them over a couple weeks on trying to do what you did. And then you moved into a leadership role of that team. So if we can, let's go to the onboarding of that team, how to do it well. Walk us through that, how to bring non-attorneys up to speed where they can deliver quotes, empathize, connect with clients, all of that sort of stuff. And walk us through those best practices that you've picked up over the last year or so as you've led our team.
Yeah, it was a really exciting time. And the onboarding process that was created, I think, is the best onboarding process that I've ever created. It just gets better and better over time. Week 1 is dedicated to understanding what we can service here at the firm, because family law is a large umbrella, but we really take on select cases. It's ending marriages, paternity, child support, and then post-judgment work. That's really our bread and butter. So we have to get people a baseline understanding of what are those case types. The way that I do that is we listen to calls specifically about those key types for an entire week, 8 hours a day. We're listening, we're dissecting, we're digging into what did you hear? What did that raise? What questions do you have? Really going in depth on these phone calls for an entire week. That's all we do. Week 2, then they really see me in action. So week 1 is all recorded. Okay. It's all recordings on phone calls or on videos, but week 2, they see me in action. They are live screen sharing as I am speaking to clients directly.
These are in full-blown initial consults.
Yes. Real time. They are watching me work.
This isn't intake. These aren't intake calls. These are actual consults.
Actual consults. And they get to see real time, what is it like to actually connect with someone in an emotional situation? What is it like to emotionally connect to someone while also understanding you need to systematically be doing things behind the scene? And you can't have your focus drop. You have to fully maintain that reality with the client you're talking to. And then again, issue spotting. What is Mary picking up on that I didn't pick up on? And they're actively taking notes. There's a lot of activities that I have them doing behind the scenes to make sure that they're engaged that full time. Week 3, then, I maintain the voice. I am answering the calls. I am doing the consultations. But they now have the opportunity to systematically get in the seat of the agent and they try and quote. It's my favorite week is week 3. It's where I have them on a test account quoting my live consult. And after the consult's
Okay.
over, we're looking, okay, what did Mary quote versus what did I quote? And what did I miss? It's the best practice. It's amazing.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that. So whenever you say quote, we have a tool that we use where we'll start with a baseline number and we'll take into account all the issues that are relevant in that case. And the more issues, obviously, the more work involved, which tends to have higher quotes and vice versa.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing that side by side, you're listening for issues, the new teammate's listening for issues, and you're trying to gauge how many issues you spotted versus how many they did. Yep. Hopefully it's the same number, which would give us almost virtually the same financial number at the end, right?
Exactly.
So, and I'm curious, like, what's the hit rate on generally speaking, the success rate on a new teammate guessing for that third week on the quoting and the issues?
I mean, they've been pretty good. I'll tell you, this third week will really show me if I need to do an additional week of this, or if they're ready to move on to week 4. I've only had 2 agents need 2 weeks of Mary is the leader and I'm behind the scenes trying to match her quote. So that's pretty good.
So are they getting 80% of the issues, or
80% of the time this works?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I was driving you for a number there because I'm curious as to what that is. I never asked you that.
So, and then we move into week 4, which is where they begin to take the full consult over, and I am there to assist behind the scenes. So the client doesn't see me, but I'm there in a screen sharing method that I can help them catch the things that they're accidentally not selecting, or there's an objection they've never heard before. How do I break through this? How do I keep this train on track? You of all people know, in those consult rooms, these are likely the very first time someone is talking about this situation. And once you gain their trust, these calls could go on for hours if we would let it. But we have a business to run. We need to keep that on track. So how do you do that in an empathetic way? And
that's hard. That's a hard adjustment to make every day.
Yep. And that's really week 4 through graduation. So that depends. That is very much on the agent. How confident are they? How hungry are they? I can think of one of our teammates, Wesley, for instance. Wesley was day 3 of week 4 and like, I'm ready. Let me at it. Just give me all the consults you want. And he was just rip roaring to go. And it depends on the individual that's in front of you and how hungry they are. So.
Yeah. So as you've built this team and let me back up. So today you've got 5 teammates on your sales team, right?
Yeah.
In addition to that, we have our intake team, which is led by Jordan. And how many teammates do we have on our intake team?
I believe there's 16 on that side.
Okay. So that would be our intake team. And then we have all of them essentially screening calls for your team, as well as we also do lawyer consults too, right? We blend those in our firm. So we have, I want to say the number's around 60% of our consults done by non-lawyers and 40% done by lawyers. Is that number accurate today?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. So, all right. Now, as you've built your team out, what are some of the most important or hardest earned leadership lessons that you've had to work through in your journey?
So the number one leadership lesson I've ever learned is you have to be honest with goal setting as well as the actual performance of the team member. I am someone that loves to make you feel good, love to make people smile. I love to be a cheerleader. But if you never are honest in the actual performance of the individual, that is a lie. And that lie can lead to really dangerous habits being developed. It's not honest. And so for me, that is hard for me. To be the best leader possible means that sometimes I'm going to have to give you hard feedback and hard criticism. And that's just something that I had to learn over time. I'm good at it now, or I'd like to say I'm good at it now. I wasn't always. That is something that I've had to lean into coaches to coach me on how to do well.
Yeah. Mary, that's tough for a couple reasons. One is that you're from the Midwest and we have Midwest nice here, right? And so we just want to make everyone feel good. And as a leader, you have a choice between you can be a clown and make people feel good, or you can actually lead. And that requires those confrontational, hard conversations. And I can just tell you as just a point of personal compliment, I've seen you really grow in that area from where you started to where you're at today. And it's been pretty impressive that you've taken that on with some courage to help a teammate in a real, authentic way by saying, you know what, you can improve in this area. And here's how that can be done.
Yeah.
What are some other things that you've worked through along your journey in leading our sales team?
I'm very fast. So I tend to see a problem and want to fix the problem very quickly without taking into consideration the other teams that it impacts. And I have had to also work on that particular skill that this team that I lead now, even the intake team when I led that team, it impacts almost everyone else at the firm. And so slowing down and engaging with others on their thoughts and beliefs and what's best practice, also something that I have had to flex that muscle and learn over time.
Maybe you can teach me a little bit on that because I'm still struggling there.
So a second, I'm still not the best at that one.
Yeah, I'll follow your lead there because that's one of my weaknesses for sure. You know, a lot of attorneys have asked me over the, I guess, year and a half now, how does it work for a non-attorney to be doing sales for a family law firm? And there are some real positives to it and there are some negatives. And I'd like to kind of shine a light on both sides of that because there's some struggles we have and we continue to have, and there's some real wins. So what would you characterize to be our wins and what would you characterize to be our ongoing struggles or things we still need to work on and get better at?
Our wins are the fact that because we are so focused on a specific area of family law, we really get to understand the nuances that creates when it comes to representation. And so we've been able to build a tool that allows us to quote no matter who we're talking to, as long as it's a case type that we represent. That's a huge benefit and a huge strength. You can have the most escalated divorce case out there, and I'm still able to empathetically approach your situation and give you the information that you need to make a safe decision for you and your family. And that's really what my role is. I'm here to support you, to advocate for you, and to give you the information you need in order to make a safe decision. A non-attorney salesperson can do all three of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The hard part, though, is it's in that same wheelhouse. I'm not an attorney. I cannot give you legal advice. I would love to be able to tell you this is what we will do to get you to that goal, but I can't do that. I'm not an attorney. And so there is a gap right now that we're bridging. Hopefully soon, within the next couple of weeks, we will launch that to bridge that gap, to allow the attorneys to come on and give legal advice that clients I know are looking for, and just to hear it from an attorney that has done this 300 times before.
Yeah. You're talking about an initial consult done by you or your team, where you do the full consult, and while you're still with the client, bring in a lawyer to kind of touch on those legal questions that you aren't able to respond to.
Exactly.
I've seen you have to bite your tongue too, because you've seen 1,000+ cases where you've touched, and so you can probably give advice on 85-90% of those issues, but you have to hold off because that's not legal to do that.
Exactly.
So what else have you noticed would be wins that we've experienced?
The biggest win that we have experienced is the fact that we're no longer just pitching full representation, which changed November of 2023. So this was a huge benefit to a non-attorney salesperson. The ability to be able to offer clients alternative options besides full rep, because it gives them the opportunity to meet with an attorney at a scale that financially they can afford. Game changer.
I think the numbers in our county is around 60% of people are pro se. For many because they financially can't afford it, and many because they choose to, and they are at least pro se for most of their case. And so we're able to offer them services for those people who don't want the full rep, don't need the full rep perhaps. And you're able to offer them packages. Another win I've seen is we have seasonality in family law, right? You know, it gets kind of slow, obviously, around the holidays and picks up after about mid-January on through right about now is when we've seen kind of really intense level of phone calls. So we've been able to level load quite a bit for our attorneys because they get real busy, and that pushes out our consult dates. And we know that after 4-ish, I mean, you know the number. After how many days do we really start to see a kind of a cliff effect on people that schedule with us who don't want to wait around, that drop off? Do you know what that is?
It is. It's 3 days. So if you're making someone wait more than 3 days for an initial consultation after they've picked up the phone, emotionally gone through a really difficult call to begin with, the likelihood of them actually showing up drops significantly.
Wow, I didn't know it was that quick. I thought it was closer to 4 or 5. So how many consults a day are you and your team doing?
10 comfortably.
Okay.
6 are scheduled, And when we do have the occasional no call, no show rate, and everyone right now is in the green, both attorneys and CLAs, we're under that 3-day rule. We do live transfers now, which is another win. We are now live taking those calls right from the intake over. So clients are spending 5 minutes waiting, not days, not hours. It's minutes.
Okay, got it. And your team is also doing a lot of the follow-ups, right?
Yes. Yep. Another great win because I have built a relationship with these individuals and now I'm seeing them circle back moment to what Tony had told me at the beginning. Follow your client from the beginning until they fund.
So is it 10 per person is scheduled a day or it's 10 per person?
It's 10 per person. It can fluctuate depending on how many they pick up. So how many live transfers they get or same day scheduling they get.
Okay.
But about 10, which is phenomenal.
Yeah. Of the 10 that are scheduled, how many of those show? What's the show rate right now?
Show rate right now is, I believe, 81%.
Got it. So they're taking around 8 consults a day. Your team is the five people on your teammates. Yeah. What are the downsides to having can't give legal advice? So that holds people up. That discourages some clients who really would just want to get an answer now and want to talk to an attorney. What are some other challenges that we are working through or have worked through?
6 years is a long time to build up the knowledge base. So this comes very naturally to me, but not everyone has had the benefit of being here 6 years. One thing that has shown success is career trajectory at this firm, being that if you start on an intake side and slowly move your way up to a CLA position, you just pick up a lot more. You pick up the nuances. And so it's a long onboarding process. It can be because there is just information that is difficult to learn unless you have the time just built and dedicated to it.
Yeah. Just to kind of wrap up here, what are the things you're working on now that are the big next project? I know we're doing something with bringing lawyers in on a portion of the console. What else are you working on?
So a couple things. I'm full circle. I'm back in the workshop space daily, which is very exciting. I host daily workshops with individuals in a group setting where I'm speaking to the benefits of the firm. And it's the most exciting thing that I have done at Sterling because I love talking about working here. And I love talking about the safety that we provide clients. And I love Q&A. I like to talk to people if you haven't picked up on that yet. And I'm good at it. So that's really fun for me. This also allows me to get more than one consult per hour because I'm in a group setting. And then I do mini consults afterwards in order to quote them individually. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah.
We are also working on what you had just mentioned, bringing the attorneys into live transfers, as well as kind of discussing what would it feel like for a CLA agent to just answer the phone, to be the person that picks it up on the first call and take it all the way through close. That's something that's in the works. It's being beta tested maybe next month, but it's something to look out for. Maybe that's a gold mine we haven't dug into yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of excitement around doing that, both from our attorney team and our intake and our sales team. Yeah. So let me just finish up here, Mary, with a few lightning round questions. I didn't prep you for these, okay? So I'm going to get spontaneous Mary here. So this could all be great, or it could go sideways in a real hurry.
I'm excited.
Okay. What quote is meaningful to you?
What quote is meaningful to me? Probably the one that I write down every day, which is extreme ownership. The only thing that's in my own way is myself.
Oh, man. Love that. Is that a Jocko Willink?
Sure is.
Yeah, okay. What resource has really helped you grow?
Grant Cardone. We currently utilize Grant Cardone University. We have Grant Cardone coaching weekly. That has been a game changer. The ability to give information-driven sales is phenomenal.
Finally, is there something in your life that you're really proud of that not many people know about?
Boy, I mean, I'm really proud of the fact that I can work with a sibling, which I don't know if that is something that's going to make it into this podcast, but
we'll put it in. We'll leave it in.
Anthony Karls is indeed my.
And he's a tough guy to work with too. So that's even doubly impressive. Love you, Tony. Thought I would just drop that.
He is in fact my oldest brother, which if you work with family, that can be really challenging, but it's been one of the joys of my life because I've gotten to watch him grow up into an adult, and I've gotten to watch him grow into a father and a husband. And then I've gotten to see him grow as a leader in a business. And I'm also the baby. I'm the youngest sibling, his only sister. And so that has been really emotionally raw for both of us because he wants to make sure that I'm safe, right? Like he wants to catch me, but a part of growing is he has to let me learn from mistakes. And so that's been really fun. And not many people do. We like to keep that a secret, even when people are onboarding. They find out, wait, you guys are siblings?
Yeah. Say different last names. That throws people off quite a bit. And I can echo what you said. I mean, I've had the absolute joy of working with Tony for 15 years, and I've seen him go through all those stages you talked about too, into the development to this incredible human he is today, and leader and business partner.
Yeah.
Well, Mary, thank you. This has been very helpful and enlightening. So I appreciate you giving us about 40 minutes of your time today.
Thanks, Jeff.